It was about 5:30 in the morning on Tuesday when Barron Trump jogged past Central Park. The sound of his footsteps and breathing were the only things he could focus on. He ran past some other early morning joggers like him, and then his mind idly wondered if they were here to clear their heads too. His mind could not stop replaying the scene at the mall yesterday. After the incident, he had gone home with a troubled mind. Is this still how the world operates? He wondered. After completing his Target run for the day, he was about to return to his apartment. He took out his earpods and played All Time Low by John Bellion. Funny how the song correctly matched how he was feeling at the moment. The streets of New York were empty, except for a few people who were out to jog just like him. The sky was dark, and one couldn't appreciate the stars because of all the light pollution. Barron felt like that sometimes. Being the son of the president, the glamour and the political tend to overwhelm him sometimes. His family tried to protect him from the political world, but sometimes some of the tension slipped past through and got to him, irrespective of how much his family tried to shield him from it. However, God bless them, he loved his parents. They were people who carried a burden that sometimes seemed too heavy. However, they put much effort into raising him right and ensuring he had the best things in life. His family was very protective of him, with him being the last child, and they did everything within their power to ensure that the criticism and bullying that came with his father's position as the president did not get to him. However, no method is foolproof, and sometimes criticism and bullying still got to him. He had learned grateful lessons from his father to push on no matter what people say about him. However, that did not mean their criticism and harsh words did not sting. He finally approached his apartment. He got in the elevator and ascended to the top floor. Early morning runs always did the trick of helping him clear his head, which was what he needed to figure out his next course of action. First, he needed to tell his mother, Melania Trump. He dialed her number, and after a few rings, she picked up. Melania Trump was an early bird. She often told him that for one to have a productive day, he needed to begin early. Barron was sure his mother would pick up. She is always there when he needs her. He once called her maternal instinct. She always seemed to know when he was in trouble and was always ready to help. "Hey, Mum," he greeted. "Barron, you're all over the internet. Tell me what happened. I want to know everything," she said. With a sigh, he began to narrate about yesterday's incident. It was around 1 p.m. on a hot afternoon in New York City, and Barron and his friends had decided to go to the mall after lectures. School had been hectic as they were busy preparing for exams. As the president's son, Barron knew many people expected him to slack in his studies and be wild. After all, his family was rich and had connections to cover up for him should anything happen. However, Barron wanted to prove them wrong. He was willing to work hard and prove that he could achieve good grades in school on his own. The guys had just sat down and were in the process of ordering when Barron felt self-conscious. He looked up and noticed an employee staring at him with a disgruntled expression on her face. Not knowing why, but not wanting to be rude, he smiled at her and gave a small wave. However, this seemed to make her more upset with him. "I wonder what she's upset about," he pondered. "Dude, what are you looking at?" one of his friends asked. "Nothing. It's nothing." By the time he looked up, she was already gone. He shrugged and continued his discussions with his friends. A few minutes later, a shadow loomed over him. He looked up and saw a strange man looking at him. "Good afternoon, sir," he greeted. "Hello," Barron responded. "I'm sorry, sir, but I'm going to have to ask you to take off your hat," the man said. "I'm sorry, what?" Barron asked in confusion. "Sir, your hat has a political statement on it, and some customers find this offensive. So please, I'm going to have to ask you to take it off." Barron leaned back in his seat, shocked. Never in his life would he have thought that his MAGA hat would stir up such a controversial conversation like this. "You can't ask me to take off my hat. It's not doing or causing any trouble," he refuted. "Yeah, who are you, man? You can't just ask people to change how they dress for no reason," one of Barron's friends challenged. "I am not taking off my hat," Barron said boldly. "I'm the manager of this establishment, and if you're not willing to comply with this rule, then I'm going to have to ask you to leave." "Leave? Wait, are you kicking us out?" one of his friends asked in disbelief. "Please leave, or I'll have to call security to send you out. Those are the rules of this establishment. Either you comply or you leave," the manager said with a cold look. People had already brought out their phones and were busy recording the scenario. His friends wanted to argue, but Barron stood up, adjusted his hat proudly, and said, "Come on, guys, let's go." With that, Barron and his friends left the mall. "Can you believe that guy?" said Bo Loudon, his BFF. Barron sighed. This was one of those times when being the son of an important political figure made him the bad guy. "Come on, guys, let's just go somewhere else," he urged. They agreed and then moved to another location. Unbeknownst to them, trouble was on the horizon. Andrew Cornwall sighed relief as he watched the young men exit the building. Although he wished things were different and he could avoid unpleasant conversations, the rules were the rules. Although something in his gut told him something was wrong, he could not place his finger on it. "What am I doing, feeling sorry for the guy?" he mused. "Anyways, what's done is done." His job, although sometimes unpleasant on such days like this, was something he valued. He particularly enjoyed working here because of their policies. Time and time again, he had witnessed several instances of hate crime by people who had different opinions in politics and tried as much as possible to ensure that his shopping mall did not encourage any kind of political discord. He did not like hurting people's feelings and turning them down. People needed to know they could hang out with their families and friends at this mall Without encountering any form of unwanted political propaganda, the boys finally decided to go have lunch at a restaurant nearby. They had just finished their meal and were about to leave the building when they ran into a mob of reporters. The flash of their cameras temporarily blinded Barron for a minute. "What the?" Barron exclaimed in shock. "Mr. Barron, a video of you being kicked out of a shopping mall has gone viral. What do you think about the situation? Mr. Barron, are you involved in your father's current presidential campaign? Mr. Barron, do you believe your father can make America great again?" The questions went on and on. Barron had to admit he was very upset and a little bit scared. The flashes of the camera and the questions from all angles overwhelmed him. He immediately turned back into the restaurant and went straight to the restroom. A few seconds later, his friends also walked in. "Whoa, what's up with the crowd outside?" one friend asked. They were talking about a video online. Immediately, everyone brought out their phones to check out what was going on. To their dismay, there were videos of them being kicked out of the shopping mall and their conversation with the mall manager. Barron groaned. It was never a good thing when the press was focused on him. He pondered what to do. Then he called the head of his family's security detail. 30 minutes later, Barron and his friends were escorted out of the restaurant using a back door and ushered into a black sedan with heavily tinted glass. The ride back home was quiet, as each boy was deep in thought. Barron was the one most bothered by this event. He quickly rushed home. "Maybe by tomorrow, everything will be calm," he said. However, his best friend Bo Loudon was silent during the whole trip. He just couldn't shake this feeling of dread in his gut. Bo and Barron had been friends since childhood. They both went to the same schools and were constantly getting mixed up in the same crowd, so it was inevitable that they would be friends. Bo had been there for Barron more times than he could count, and he knew firsthand how much Barron despised being in the public's eye. He worried about the consequences of this action that they took. "I don't know, guys, but I have a bad feeling about this," Bo said. "Don't worry, everything will be fine." After dropping everyone off at their respective destinations, Barron finally made it home. He ordered dinner and went online to see the comments on the video. They were too mean and nasty, so he switched off the phone. That night, his sleep was fitful and restless. Then, by 5:30 a.m., he got up and decided to go out for a run. Hearing this, Melania was very upset. The comments about her son were very nasty and mean. "He's such a show-off," some said. "He just wants to brag about his father being president," others said. "So pompous and disrespectful," another commented. "I'm pretty sure nobody wants you around. No wonder his mother always keeps him locked up. She must be ashamed of him. I honestly feel sorry for the guy. It seems like even his family didn't want him. I heard his parents had him by mistake. Nobody even likes you." The hurtful words went on and on. She wondered what action to take and contemplated suing the manager, but Barron refused. "That would just bring more attention to us," he said. She frowned but accepted it because she knew what he said was true. "But I can't sit back and do nothing," she lamented. "Don't worry, Mum. I'll be okay," he consoled her. Barron felt very bad and heartbroken about the comments he saw. He couldn't even attend his classes because of how low he felt. Did people really feel that way about him? Was there any truth to the things they said? He holed up in his apartment, avoiding the outside world. What would he do now? Bo was angry when he saw the comments online about his friend. What gave these people the right to say such hurtful words about Barron? They did not even know the guy. Now he understood why his mother was so protective of him. The things people say without thinking. How could they say such things about Barron? What worried him the most was that Barron was absent from classes and wasn't picking his calls. So after class, he went straight to Barron's apartment. His mother had increased security detail around the house, allowing only restricted persons around her son, including Bo. After explaining his identity to Barron's bodyguards and getting the clearance he needed, he let himself into the apartment. He met Barron playing video games in the living room. "Hey man, what's up?" he asked. Barron looked at him with a wobbly smile on his face. This upset Bo the more. Barron was a kind, down-to-earth kid. He didn't deserve the harsh things being said about him online. "How are you holding up?" Bo asked. "I'm hanging in there," Barron replied. "I brought you notes from class." "Thanks, man," he replied. They ordered in pizza and then made small talk and played video games. Meanwhile, both of them reasoned how to fix the situation. All of a sudden, there was a knock on the door. Barron's security detail stepped in. "Good evening, sir. Sorry to interrupt you, but a man outside wants to see you. We tried to send him away, but he still insists on meeting with you. He says he's the manager of the Pluto shopping mall. Should I let him in?" What did he want? Barron wondered as the image of the manager who caused this entire mess popped into his head. He wanted to lash out, but Bo, guessing what he wanted to do, said, "Dude, let's just listen to what he has to say." Barron looked at his friend, then took a deep breath and said to the guard, "Let him in." Andrew Cornwall was relieved when the guard came out, permitting him to enter the apartment. He wasn't sure Barron would want to see him. He was shocked and sad after witnessing what people said about Barron on social media. He knew that the young man must have been an important figure or the relative of one, but he didn't know that he was the president's son. To make matters worse, he was being attacked by malicious people and their callous comments. He understood how the young man must be feeling right now, because his 15-year-old niece was also a victim. Due to the pressure, she actually tried to take her life, but at the last minute, she reached out and was now receiving help from an organization. Hence, the rule at the mall. People with adverse opinions could forget their animosity toward one another and just focus on being people. There would be no judgmental criticism. He could at least ensure it wasn't present in his environment. He explained all of this to Barron and apologized. "I did not mean for it to become like this. I was just trying to create a safe space for people. But in a bid to prevent one crime, I accidentally committed another. Nobody deserves to be slandered just because people don't accept them for who they are or what they believe in. It's just so cruel. If only I could find a way to let people know the danger of what they were doing, to warn them of the dangers of it, I would. I know an apology does not make up for my mistake, but if there is anything that you want me to do to fix it, I'll do it." Barron sighed. Seemed like he had been sighing a lot lately. "I understand your point of view, Mr. Andrew, and I get what you were trying to do. Your coming here to apologize means you had no bad intentions in mind, but it doesn't change the situation I found myself in. If you tried to do anything to help, no, people will only think my family bought you out. Thank you for owning up to your mistake. I forgive you." As Barron led Mr. Andrew to the door, one thing that Mr. Andrew said struck Bo. "If only I could find a way to let people know the danger of what they were doing, to warn them of its dangers, I would. What if they could?" An idea formed in Bo's mind. "Wait, you guys," he called out. "I think I have an idea," he said, his eyes shining brightly. Mr. Andrew and Barron looked at him. "Now listen up to what we're going to do," he said. Bo's plan was simple, but would be impactful if everything went well. Bo was a social media influencer, and his plan was this. Why don't we upload a podcast about what's going on with Barron right now? We could hold a session on cyberbullying and its effect on society, and have you, Mr. Andrew, and Barron talk on the show. Someone whose life has been directly impacted by it, Barron, and another person who has witnessed firsthand the negative effects of it, Mr. Andrew. So what do you guys think? Bo, you are a genius, Barron said, his eyes alight with hope. I know, Bo said in a teasing tone. This just might work, Barron said, looking at Mr. Andrew. I'm up for it if you guys are, Mr. Andrew said. The two friends hugged and then set a date and time for the podcast. Barron called his mother. Melania said, Barron, I'm your mother and will always worry about you no matter what happens. But if you feel you want to do this, then I will not stop you. I am proud of you, Barron. Thanks, Mum, he said, and hung up. Over the next 2 days, Bo moved his podcast equipment to Barron's apartment, and the day they set for the podcast show came. On the show, they spoke about the concept of cyberbullying, its causes, and its adverse effects. Mr. Andrew related the story of his niece, who was victimized for having a sickness that made her weak. Her parents wanted her to have a normal childhood, so they sent her to a public school. Unfortunately, she was often bullied, so they switched to homeschooling. However, when she was 14, they got her a smartphone so she would not feel cooped up in the house and could socialize with others online. This was a grave mistake, as she was mocked for her sickly appearance and frail strength. It got so bad that she decided she did not want to live that kind of life anymore. At the last minute, she chose to speak out and was getting help. Barron spoke about the negative emotions he had felt due to the comments about him online. The comments section was opened, and many people came out to tell stories about their experiences with cyberbullies. By the time the podcast was released, many people had agreed with Barron, and many opinions had changed. We need to be a bit more kind on our social media platforms, someone said. Other social media influencers took the message, and soon it was all over the internet. People's opinion changed overnight. I still don't like him, but people did not have to be so mean to him. He's a good kid. I don't know why people are being so mean to him. People need to learn to respect others and stop hating on each other. Let's be kind, fellas. Come on. We are better than this, someone commented. The issue was focused on The Five on Fox News, and serious discussions were held about the adverse effects of cyberbullying. I mean, it's just plain wrong. Even kids are getting affected. We must show that just because we have the technology does not mean we do not know how to use it responsibly. We need to start showing a sense of responsibility and discipline. More comments trooped in. When the week ran out, protesters gathered to stage a peaceful protest for Barron's sake. I didn't even know that people would go that far to make sure that this never happened again, he said, perplexed on another podcast. I just wanted to raise awareness of it. That's all. But I'm touched. Thanks to all of you who are going the extra mile to ensure people are never victimized again. Believe me, you could be saving someone's life at this moment. His mother, Melania Trump, also decided to chip in her effort. She held a fundraiser for teenagers who have been victimized on the internet. On the day of the fundraiser, she gave a small speech. I'm amazed at how strong my son Barron has become. Even amid adversity, he was still able to persevere and come through with not just a way to fight for himself, himself and make his voice heard without harming others, but also find a way to protect others and give a voice to people who cannot speak up for themselves. The fundraiser was a success. She generated a sum of $12 million, which went to centers dedicated to helping people who have been victims of cyberbullying. Barron felt a sense of fulfillment. He was finally able to go out and have fun with his friends. The period when he had been victimized, he felt so out of touch with reality, as though he had been locked in a cage. Now, he felt free. He could attend classes, and when his results for the semester came out, he passed all his courses. He and Mr. Andrew eventually reached a mutual understanding. The rule at the Pluto shopping mall was revised, and people were allowed to wear accessories, publicizing their beliefs with the assurance that they would not be involved in any form of discrimination. Barron and his friends went to a private restaurant to celebrate the end of the semester. As Barron sat in the company of his friends, he sighed happily. He looked at his best friend Bo and touched his shoulder. "Hey Bo," he called out. Bo, who was in the middle of a conversation with someone else, turned to him with a smile. "Yeah dude, what's up?" he answered. "I just want to thank you for all you did for me. I'm grateful, Bo. I owe you one, dude." "Hey, what's with all the sentiments, dude?" Bo said, then slung his arm over Barron's shoulder. "What are friends for?" Barron smiled. When Barron first left home, one of his mother's greatest concerns was that she was not sure he could make good friends. However, as he sat at the table, he knew he was surrounded by people who loved and cared about him. What are your thoughts about Barron being kicked out of the mall and his strategy of clearing the air? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Before you go, watch the other videos on your screen.